Thank you so much. It's great to see the dojo so alive. It's great to see all of you. As Bob said, you know, I've been here a number of times in a number of different outfits. And it was here some years ago that we also launched the previous book, Move to Greatness, if you remember back to then, about the energy patterns. You'll see the energy patterns make their showing again in this book, but a little different way. And there's been a progression in my own work similarly, it's like each thing led to the next thing. This book sort of insisted on itself, and used me to write it. That's the way I've come to see it. In the last few weeks, I've been doing a lot of radio interviews around this book. And in radio interviews, you're often asked to be very succinct, get right to the point. So I've learned how to talk about this book in 1 word, in 2 words, and in 3 words. And if there's 1 word I'd use, when a radio host says to me something like, "Who or what is the Zen leader?" It's you. I'll write this down just so you can keep track. Okay, it's you. If I get 2 words, and they say, "Who or what is the Zen leader?" I say, "It's not you." And if I get 3 words, it's a really long program. Who or what is the Zen leader? I say, it's not you enough. So I want to talk about these 3 things tonight. First, the sense in which the Zen leader is you. It's your nature. Once you get out of your way, once I get out of my way, it's what comes through us. Spontaneously, freely. It's the expression of who you are. It's none other than that. It's not some model out here like you want to copy. It's you. And yet, you get to point number 2, it's not the you normally think. It's not the you normally experience as yourself. It's not the in-the-skin ego you that is incredibly distracting. It's playing the game of life, sometimes completely sucked into the game of life. All the moving parts that capture us day after day, that we throw ourselves into. It's part of the story, but it's not the full story. And it leads to the 3rd point, not you enough. Because this is where I find leaders all over the place, all over the world, struggling with their own lives, their own situations, where the world's gotten pretty fast on them, just as it has in many of your lives. Lots to do. Have you answered enough emails today? Enough distractions? Did things move fast enough for you today? Did enough pressure land on your schedule today? And with so many of the people who I work with, like many of you, the reward for doing really good work is what? More work. And if you manage to get the number this quarter, do it with more, with less next quarter. Do more with less in the future. That's the condition of continually speeding up that so many leaders find themselves in. And the pressure mounts. What do we do with that pressure? What do we do with pressure? Our first instinct may be to ignore it. Our next, we might say, "Oh, I'll just work a little faster, work a little harder, 1-minute manager ourselves to death, right? A little more efficient, a little bit longer on the weekend." Maybe I have a lot of coping mechanisms for working with pressure. Letting off a little steam here, a little alcohol there, a little coffee here, something that lets me keep on going. But if the pressure keeps cooking, what's going to happen? That's the condition I find a lot of leaders in when I work with them. And I bet if you look at your own life, you'll see moments of that arising too. I call it barely managing. And I would invite you and them to a different alternative altogether, to use the pressure. To use the pressure as pressure has been used through the entire story of life to push development, to propel us to another place. That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening for humanity as a whole. The pressure is pushing us to another place. And leaders go first. Leaders go first. So what I'd like to talk with you about tonight is both how this Zen leader is you, how we get confused and think it's not us, and how the flips of this book can take the pressure and propel us to different levels of seeing who we truly are. Because the final flip, in my experience, the final flip is when our whole sense of self turns on itself. And suddenly we see completely differently. But also in my experience, that's not the first flip. In fact, it's the final one, at least in this book. And leading up to it are 9 others that kind of warm us up, that kind of make us more agile, more ready to go there, more ready to experience it. And that's what I want to start to give you an experience of tonight, because we can really play with this. My hope is that for each of you, you can take this book as far as you want to, as far as you need to, in your own life and in your own leadership. So we're going to play with those 3.